He came out of a 12-year coma and left everyone stunned when he told them what he heard. His body finally gave up. He had gradually lost his ability to speak and walk, as well as to eat on his own. Although the neurodegenerative disease was initially suspected, his condition ended up being a medical enigma. Doctors reportedly informed Mark's parents that their son now had the mental capacity of a 3-month-old and that their only option was to keep him at home till his life ended. But Mark never lost in his illness. He instead spent more than 10 years at home or at child care facilities. His parents were also informed that he was blind to his surroundings. However, Mark claimed that 4 years after being unwell, he started to wake up. Mark recalled how, for so many years, he felt like a ghost, hearing and seeing everything yet seemingly not existing at all. He would type into a computer while remaining invisible with the aid of a gadget that voiced the words. The complete and total helplessness was what Mark found most upsetting. Never in his wildest dreams could Mark have thought that he would be forced to live a life in which every single decision and control would be made for him. Days, months, and years passed, but he remained imprisoned in his own body that simply wouldn't move and was left with nothing but his own thoughts. Even though his brain was completely awake, his body was simply refusing to cooperate, making it impossible for him to communicate his alertness to anyone. Mark made many attempts to move his body as much as he could to show that he was conscious. However, what he had initially perceived as significant movements were actually hardly perceptible, and he realized that nobody could have seen them. Eventually, he started to feel hopeless. When Mark was originally imprisoned inside his body, his greatest dread was being alone himself, which he subsequently found ironic. Because despite always having people around him, he was alone. He believed that he would always have someone watching out for him as long as his parents were alive. He had spent his days at a care facility where he was frequently forced to watch hours of the kids' program Barney and Friends playing repeatedly in front of the TV. For Mark, the singing purple dinosaur still brings back some difficult memories. However, he can't watch or listen to Barney's tormenting role in his life. He claimed to have experienced nightmares and flashbacks for many years. Although Mark's illness had a significant impact on every member of his family, his mother had the most difficulty accepting it. One evening following a fight between his parents, the son's mother eventually turned to him, not even realizing he could hear her, and told him that his life had to end. Mark was heartbroken but understood why she said it. Mark was devastated by this, but as he processed his feelings, he was only able to feel love and compassion for his mother. He was aware that his mother frequently felt incapable of raising him and that she wasn't a good mother. Being unable to reassure her that she was doing well was one of the hardest things for Mark. As days passed, he tried to find various ways to keep himself occupied. He enjoyed seeing the gradual changes that occur in various things, such as plants putting out new leaves or the cyclical nature of the seasons. Even the most uninteresting activities would keep him occupied, like watching a damp floor dry or simply tracking the path of the sun as it moved across the room. When the light changed, he was able to tell the time. If there were any insects in the room, he enjoyed pretending that they were competing for his attention. But Mark's imagination was his best means of escape. He used to spend a lot of time in his mind, sometimes to the point where he was oblivious to everything around him. Mark even recalls having conversations with himself and other people all in his head. Along with missing his family a lot, Mark also struggled with the stark fact that he would likely perish by himself in a nursing home. However, by 2001, there was a glimmer of hope. A new worker at Mark's care center began to sit and have talks with him. Over time, she developed an awareness of subtle cues that led her to conclude that Mark was more alert than she had previously believed. She then urged his parents to have Mark examined at the Center for Augmentative and Alternative Communication, where, for the very first time, Mark could prove to people that he did understand. The catalyst that caused things to change was this woman. Without her, Mark most likely would have passed away or been left alone in a nursing home. Everything changed when people discovered they could communicate solely through specialized equipment. At first, Mark could only say the most basic things, like "I'm uncomfortable" or "I would like something to drink." As he gradually became better at using his communication system, Mark could say more. Everything that Mark had to learn all over again, including reading, socializing, and even making decisions for himself. Mark's body grew stronger as a result of new experiences and stimulus, and he gradually started to regain movement. He swiftly mastered self-propulsion in his wheelchair and even picked up the skills necessary to run a hand-operated car that was modified for him. However, Mark continued to worry that he would be alone and recalled feeling as like he had so much love inside of him but no one to share it with. Surprisingly, it didn't take long for this to change though. Mark was soon introduced to Emily, who knew his sister through a friend. They got married back in 2009 and moved to Britain. Mark and Emily are trying to start a family, despite their previous decision to stay childless. Mark is now attempting to put more emphasis on his future than his past. In fact, he has forgiven his mother for telling him that his life should have ended years ago, and does not have any bitterness toward his parents. Mark is undeniably appreciative of the little things, like the thrill of merely discovering something new or the ability to have a genuine conversation,